The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Well, thanks for joining us this morning for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley, joined with Andrew Gorton, our meteorologist. Yeah. Andrew, we are just over 24 hours away from potential snowfall across the region. This is something we've been talking about all week. Give us the latest. What are we tracking? What do you think we can expect tomorrow?
Well, sometimes in these situations, we don't forecast snow a lot. It gets a little bit more uncertain as you get closer, but with this situation, everything's pointing to snowfall across the region, at least areas along the north of I-16. So let's take a look at what we have for you guys here for this weekend specifically. Temperatures will be going down through the afternoon and evening. That's when your snowfall chance goes up on Saturday. So that high of 43, not lasting long. It's going to be cold in the afternoon. That wind picks up as well, and we are brutally cold early on Sunday morning. More of that to come. Let's take a check on what we have out there for alerts. Winter storm warning in that pink shaded area to our north. That does include Charleston. Winter storm watch along north of I-16. That's where we've been saying the best chance for snow is. And to the south, you could still get maybe some flurries. Extreme cold watches out there. Some of the model data's trended a little further south. We'll be watching it. Temperatures right now at 11:03. You've got 40s and 50s. Notice it's a little warmer down by Brunswick and St. Simons, 59. Not bad. Expanding that view to what we have, some showers in southwest Georgia. Some of that could sneak over to our area later today, but we're not expecting anything crazy as we are above freezing as we go through, of course, today. It's tomorrow that those temperatures start to come down. So let's take a look at what you can expect today. We're going to see those temperatures low to mid 60s with the evening temperatures in the 50s going into the upper 40s, 8, 9 o'clock. Temperatures falling into the 30s for your Saturday morning. Now, we've already looked at the weekend. Big difference here, though, from this afternoon than going forward into the weekend. And it's going to be cold as we get into Monday as well. So this is the latest thinking. We're going to have 1 to 2 inches of snowfall there, at least possible, for areas along the north of I-16. Dusting to 1 inch is going to be south of I-16. You get one little band that produces more. Maybe the band misses you and you don't get anything. It's not a perfect science. It's a little tougher than rainfall forecasting, but in general, this is what we're looking at for Saturday specifically. Looking at the GFS and Euro, notice that precip totals are only putting out about 1/10 of an inch of if it were rainfall. How does that equate? Well, over 3/4 of an inch to an inch in the Savannah area, which is why we're calling for that. So about an inch in Savannah is not out of the realm of possibility. So let's take a look at the latest data coming in. This our in-house model, pulling in some snow to our far western, northwestern communities around lunchtime, making its way back here toward the Savannah area, toward the coast, mid-late afternoon. And then that snow is going to stick around into the evening for some. There are some dry spots, but in the evening after sunset, it's going to be cold. So by 10 o'clock, temperature in Savannah 27. This is when roads could be not so fun to drive on. I know we all want to hang out on the weekend, do fun things, go to dinner, things like that. But be mindful of where it does snow, temperatures being below freezing after sunset, roadways could be not so fun. This is all over by daybreak on Sunday, but since we're going to be so cold, it's not going to go anywhere. What snow that does fall will stick, and it's going to be cold. Forecast temperatures for your Sunday morning, teens, 20s, 19, new record in Savannah expected, breaking the previous record of 23, set in 1977. And then those feels like temperatures, this is a wild one. Single digit feels like temperatures. Yes, I know Atlanta, that's correct. It might feel like -2. But for us, 1 to 4, balmy. It's rough out there Sunday morning. So some tips as you kind of get ready on this nice day today. Just make sure everything's ready to go. You've got your plants probably taken care of already. You've got time after work to still work on exposed pipes, faucets. Those faucet covers that are styrofoam work well. They're pretty inexpensive. Also, just make sure your neighbors, loved ones, kind of in the know. I know not everybody watches the news and the weather every day, so just know that it's going to be cold this weekend. And as we look at your 7-day forecast, we continue with cold weather there on Monday, with temperatures in the lower 20s for Savannah. It's the first alert weather day because wind chills will be in the teens as we get ready for school and work on Monday morning. So let's talk about the 7-day. Of course, we're going to have some areas get snow. Not everybody sees snow. I'm sorry. Not everybody will see it. But those that do see it, looks like we're going to have time to melt a good bit of that on the afternoon, with Sunday temperatures getting into the upper 30s. That being said, shaded areas, especially untreated roads that are in shaded areas, could have some of that linger into Monday. I can't predict the roadway conditions because it's kind of dependent on how your area is treated. So that's going to be a wait and see. But as for the snowfall, I can talk about that. It looks like areas north of 16 have the best chance to get 1 to 2 inches.
I see. And I was looking down for a little bit of that forecast because this just came into our newsroom 4 minutes ago. Governor Kemp has declared a new state of emergency for the state ahead of this incoming winter storm. Really, that allows the state to free up federal funding for response, as well as mobilize National Guard troops or state troopers to go to different areas for potential fallouts, potential distribution, or helping any areas that may lose power. So that's something we did want to note. 5 minutes ago, Governor Kemp declaring a state of emergency. And talking about the coverage that we're going to be having tomorrow here on WTOC Plus and Facebook, we will be doing updates from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the top of every hour. As this is something we track, we'll have reporters really across the region. I was going to ask you earlier, I got a little distracted by the email,
okay.
Andrew.
Go for it.
So Savannah and the immediate counties around Chatham are under a winter storm watch. Just north of that's a warning.
To the north of us.
Okay.
So I can back it up on the graphics. If you guys bear with me, you get to go watch all of my graphics go backwards. I don't have a way to press it. So you're not seeing life in reverse. This is just kind of where we're at.
'Cause I wanted to ask, what's the difference between a watch and a warning in this case?
There you go. Hang on. So same idea as, if you had a severe thunderstorm watch or warning or a tornado watch and warning. The winter storm warning that you see in pink there, that is signifying like you're expecting it. Like it's happening. Your confidence is there. The watch is like kind of borderline. That being said, every National Weather Service office, and we have 3 of them we talk in between for our area, has a different criteria. Hard to answer that question because different areas, a winter storm warning for Alaska or North Dakota or New York would be different than what you'd expect in South Carolina or Georgia. Yeah. So the criteria are different. Winter storm watch specifically for us, for those areas that are north of Savannah, Chatham County, technically not in it yet. Okay. Not saying that they won't be added, but that's the Weather Service in Charleston, and they've been doing a good job with the forecasting and communicating as well. It might be added as you get closer to the time of event of it occurring is whenever you see more of the counties be added or taken away for that matter. Gotcha. Usually they're pretty, because we don't issue the watches, the warnings, the advisories, but in my experience, they would rather add than take away. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more of these counties added. To answer your question, it's different for every jurisdiction, I guess you could say. But once confidence goes up in snow in counties maybe further south, that's whenever you could get counties added to the winter storm watch along south of I-16, or if they're really confident there in the Weather Service's thinking, because again, we don't issue the watches and warnings, then they might upgrade some of those watches then to warnings, which would be that pink shading.
A warning is more serious than a watch.
Yeah, I would say that's the one that you're like, oh, we're going to have some impacts.
Gotcha.
Right now we're kind of on the fringe of that. I think we still could have impacts, but the warnings for the winter storm itself are still off to our north technically. Cool. So, but areas in Georgia and South Carolina are under that, which is why maybe Kemp made that decision. So,
all right. Something we'll of course continue to monitor throughout today and throughout tomorrow as we do prepare for potential snowfall.
Yeah, a couple things. Party facts. Because
let's hear it.
To keep it fun here. Last time Savannah had measurable snowfall 2 years back to back, 1917, 1918.
Wow.
None of us were here.
Over a century ago at this point.
Yeah. Wow. So this is, we're not hyping anything. It's just, it doesn't happen that often. So it snowed last year. Before that, it was 2018. So it does not happen often. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. It's a novelty. You can have some impacts, but I also want to just keep it in your mind that we also hardly ever get wind chills down on single digits. So I don't want that to get lost in all the fun of the snow potential. If where you're watching from does get snow, the kiddos want to go out and have fun Sunday morning. it's very important that you take care of them and keep them warm because it's going to be very cold.
Yeah, wear gloves. That's what I always preach.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Andrew, thanks for joining us here for your forecast. We are going to continue on some of the snow coverage because as we prepare for this wintry mix, counties across the region and their emergency management agencies are preparing as well. We spoke to Effingham and Bullitt counties on how their emergency management agencies are responding. Effingham has seen this before, and their management agency is readying back up for the snow. Deputy Director Shauna Smith says they're using the skills they've learned from last year's snow and icy conditions to better educate citizens this time around.
I just encourage people to stay off the road because we had a lot of single rollover accidents last year. Just driving, the vehicles are top heavy, some of them, so they tend to roll really easily. So just trying to make sure that we have safe roadways because, people do have to work.
Bullitt County's director, Corey Kemp, says everything went smoothly last year during their snowfall. He plans to tell folks to avoid going out in the icy conditions and take big precautions around bridges, which are the first to freeze over. And speaking of the roads, we have slick roads potentially this weekend with the snow. Georgia's Department of Transportation crews are gearing up for the threat of snow. Across the state, the DOT has replenished nearly 2 million gallons of brine from this past weekend. There are 570 snow removal units being mobilized as well. And in the low country, folks are finding a way to prep for the possible winter storm coming into the area as well. Several people visited hardware stores yesterday in preparation for the weather. We visited one of them in Bluffton. They were searching for faucet covers and plant blankets to keep important items around their home warm. Others were buying sand and salt to use to melt the ice and snow if it does decide to visit, which again, north of the 16, it certainly does look likely at this point. One person tells us he's not worried about the snow, but he is worried about the ice. He recommends that everyone take the same precaution.
My best advice as a retired police officer of 30 years is for people to stay at home. Load up on the essentials and get a good book, movie, etc., and stay at home.
Beaufort, Jasper, and Hampton counties say they're currently monitoring the system and creating plans that will be used if those needs arise. Turning now to the Crime Watch, we've just learned a sixth person has been arrested in connection to the Best Buy robbery last month in Savannah. That took place over a 2-week period. Savannah police have confirmed the arrests, which include an employee from the store. A Savannah police report confirms that the employee, 20-year-old Dorian Allen, was part of the scheme to steal $40,000 worth of merchandise. Police say Allen told investigators he was being blackmailed by a, quote, hacker group who threatened to release nude photos he had posted on Instagram if he didn't help them steal from the store. He claimed the hacker sent him emails with descriptions of who he should allow to steal merchandise. So far, Dorian Allen, the store employee, and Savannah Pendergraph, Shabria Summers, Brenda Gardner, and Leslie Bostick, as well as Crystal Smalls, who we just learned was arrested overnight. They have all been booked into the Chatham County Jail. The suspects are being charged with theft by receiving stolen property, and the employee is being charged with theft by taking. Additional arrests are expected as well. Well, in Glenvale, the city council voted to terminate Fire Chief Dale Barnard effective immediately. It all comes after the GBI arrested the fire chief on several charges, including child molestation. This 66-year-old is charged with aggravated child molestation and criminal trespassing. The GBI says Glenville PD responded to a 911 call from a child reporting Barnard entered his home and molested him. Evidence recovered from the home supports the child's report that the GBI was given. Barnard was booked into the Tattnall County Jail on Wednesday. Turning now to some state news, Georgia lawmakers want to wipe out your property taxes, and now they have a bill that could potentially make that happen. Some local governments worry about the loss of revenue, however, and what that could do to their budgets. Political reporter Doug Reardon with our sister station in Atlanta has the story.
Property taxes across Georgia have risen at an unsustainable rate.
Republicans in Georgia's House, led by Speaker John Burns, announced their plan to completely eliminate property taxes in the state by 2032.
Georgia House Republicans believe no one should ever face the loss of their home because they can't afford to pay rent to the government.
The plan slowly doubles homestead tax exemptions until they're gone, but with property taxes acting as a main source of revenue for local governments, including school systems, there's concern over how it'll be made up.
And I think it does rethink the way that we fund local governments, and that's part of what we're doing here.
The bill suggests municipalities raise or repurpose local sales taxes, reassess services like fire, water, and sewer, or simply spend less. The bill, called the HOME Act, would require a constitutional amendment, and GOP lawmakers in the House need to convince 21 of their Democratic colleagues that this is a good idea.
That's always my main concern when talking about property tax relief, is how do schools supplement their funding?
For new Democratic lawmaker Bryce Berry, a school teacher, the main concern is loss of revenue for education.
I hope there are things in the bill that mitigate harm towards school districts so that they can recover losses from property taxes.
Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
All right, well, today's a very special day across the region as kids across our communities in the Low Country and Coastal Empire are getting some special visits, including from some of the WTOC team themselves. I have the wrong lower third up, I apologize. But today's Read United Day with United Way of the Treasure Valley. We're now joined with Low Country reporter Aaron Dixon, who just read aloud to a handful of kids. Aaron, tell us a little bit about just what the event is and what it was like getting to see some local kids today.
Yeah, so we got there about 8:30, and we went to Richmond Hill Elementary and got to read to a lot of our people at WTOC got to read to some second graders. We got to read about a stegosaurus.
Nice.
Who, it's scary that it talks about why you shouldn't teach a stegosaurus how to do addition. Because if the stegosaurus learns addition, it's going to continue to wanting to learn and eventually build robots and a crazy number of robots that gets a little out of control. So you have to make sure you have an off button, but it's about trying again. Cool book, but we got to gift that book to that second grade classroom. And then we also gave each student a little paperback kind of chapter book for them to read.
Nice.
But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It's something I would definitely do again. Like the kids had a lot of fun with it, I think. And so I'm glad we got to do it.
That's awesome. I was talking, and it's a really important cause too. It's obviously fun. You know, our team's been out all day. It's something we do every year here at WTOC. I was talking with Cecilia Russo Turner, who's the new board president of United Way of the Treasure Valley, or of not of the Treasure Valley, of the Coastal Empire, who puts this on. And they did a study at United Way, and it shows that reading and literacy by third grade is one of the single biggest factors that determines so many different types of outlooks and success and stability. So it is really important to encourage these kids to read at a young age. Aaron, what were some of the reactions when you sat up there with the book and read about a dinosaur learning how to do math?
I think because only one of the kids had read the book before, and I made sure to ask her and tell her no spoilers.
I appreciate
We're not
that.
learning spoilers because I haven't read it and you haven't read it, so we're all going to ride on this kind of train together and be surprised together. So no, it was something that the kids I think really got a lot out of it. They listened. The teacher didn't have to tell them, hey, that's too loud. Like I asked them questions throughout the book. They pointed stuff out. I was like, hey, point stuff out that you think is cool, because like the artwork in the book was really pretty and really cool. And then the ending, of course, we luckily got a happy ending.
Can't spoil it.
No, we luckily got a happy ending. I'll just say that.
Nice.
But it's just one of those things it's a good educational thing to not teach a stegosaurus how to do addition, because you never know what's happening. Yeah.
Good way to practice your reading skills too.
No, I definitely practiced my reading skills, because I walked in, I made a joke, and I was like, guys, you guys might be better readers than I am. But no, it ended up, I only think I missed like 1 or 2 words.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's me when I anchor these shows, so
Yeah.
not bad. Well, Aaron, it was nice to have you in the WTC Plus studio. Normally we see you from your car on the side of a highway. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for reading to kids in Richmond Hill today. Certainly making a good impression. And before we sign off here on WTOC Plus, we do have a quick programming note as coming up today at 2:30. It's a new episode of Governing Georgia here on WTOC Plus. It's the show where every week, Fridays at 2:30 on WTOC Plus and the Facebook page, we are breaking down the latest bills moving through the Georgia legislature and explaining what they mean for you, your communities, and your families. All right, and I should note, Aaron came here, accidentally pushed the off button on the remote, so we're not having technical difficulties. It just takes a minute for the system to power back up. He's looking at me now. But with that, just for those who are wondering about why the screen's black now, thank you, Aaron. With that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'd like to thank you all for spending part of your morning with us. We'll be back in just about 40 minutes for another round of stories during the news at noon. In the meantime, you can always check our website for the latest updates at WTOC.com. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and here's Local News Live.